The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We're so thrilled to have on the show an award-winning producer, author. He's started the Caverns, which I'm sure you've all heard about, an incredible music venue. And he's got a brand new book, The Caveman Chronicles. Todd Mayo, thanks for coming on the show.
Eric, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I feel like I know you, and you and I have so many mutual friends.
We do.
But what's so incredible, and we're going to dive into this. First, I want to talk about the book.
Okay.
How did you come up with the idea to do a book? With your background in media, and you've been in radio like all your life, you know, just like your mom.
Yes.
You've had an ad agency.
Yes.
And then during the pandemic, you go, I think I'm going to write a book.
That's exactly how it happened, Eric. I just sat there in the pandemic. I own a music venue. Think of all the things that I didn't have to do during the pandemic when we stopped doing shows and stopped doing music. And it was a time of reflection where the world had kind of shut down. Certainly the music industry, live music industry had shut down. And I had some time on my hands. And I started reflecting about, wow, I've lived my dreams. I literally created or owned or whatever founded this magical musical venue that people come from all over the country and all over the world to. And, you know, the 10-year-old boy in me that loved watching, U2 live from Red Rocks, and people have compared the Caverns to Red Rocks and would watch Austin City Limits on PBS. This inner child in me that would have said, dude, this worked out really well for you. That kid was now having to face that man that saw it all going away. And I don't really own anything. The banks do, and we were hemorrhaging money. And so I just started thinking back on my life and said, well, if it all goes away, it's a heck of a story. And so I wrote it.
Yes.
And so that was the genesis of the book.
And it's a hero story, Todd. Going through this and reflecting back on your childhood and being raised in Memphis and everything else, and just all that you've, hard times. You've gone through hard times, but you came out the other side. And, and I want you to talk a little bit, and it gives me goosebumps just bringing it up, but how you came up with the idea for the Caverns back in 2008 and made magic.
Well, it's funny, a lot of things that led up to that point, and a line that I say is, they say, well, how did all this come about? And I say, oh, it's the old story. We've all heard it a million times. Man walks into a cave, and it actually turns out that that's true because in a mythological sense, talk about the kind of the hero's journey and the great mythologist Joseph Campbell, and you look in art and metaphor and literature, from Alibaba in the cave, or
Narnia.
Jesus in the cave, Narnia in the cave, Bilbo Baggins in the cave, Luke Skywalker, Jedi goes in the cave.
Everybody's got a cave.
Anna and Elsa go in a cave, and there's something about caves in our unconscious, and there's something magical about them. And so I went into a cave on Memorial Day weekend, had never been underground in my life as a tourist, just looking for something to do on Memorial Day weekend, and I went into this cave in McMinnville, Tennessee, and it's just like a light bulb went off. I said, this is a music venue. Look at this place. And so I said to the tour guide, I said, do y'all have live music down here? And she said, no, but that'd be a good idea. And I said, I think so too. And so my background, as you said, was marketing. I had an advertising agency. I'd worked in radio. I knew people in radio.
WLAC,
WSM.
The power.
Yes, the power, the 50,000 watts. And so I did. I called my buddy, John Walker and Chris Kulik at WSM. And I said, I've got an idea for a radio show sort of from the center of the earth. And they said, man, that sounds really cool. And I had a sponsor, Ascend Federal Credit Union, who was my big, years later, I would do the naming rights deal on Ascend Amphitheater, but this was their original foray into music, and they trusted me. And Kim York was the marketing director, and I said, would y'all sponsor this? It's a thing I'm doing. And she said, yeah. And so we do this show. I had no experience in the music business. And 6 weeks later from walking in that cave, we called it Bluegrass Underground, got it put on WSM right before the Grand Ole Opry, sold the sponsorship, booked the steel drivers, put up a website, and sold 214 tickets at $15 a piece for people to see Chris Stapleton and the steel drivers in a magic cave. And we recorded it for radio, put it on WSM, and at the very first show, a guy came to interview me from NPR about this nut job doing shows in caves. And we get to the end of the interview and he says, well, what's your real vision for this? And I said, man, as easy as this cave is on the ears, look how telegenic it is. And I grew up loving, public television, Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, and Austin City Limits. And I said, what if we did a show like MTV Unplugged meets Austin City Limits from this cave? And he goes, well, I'm actually a producer for PBS. I said, what was your name again? He said, Todd. I said, I can remember that. That's my name. And so that's how it was all very serendipitous. And now all of a sudden I'm in the music business.
Well, you know, and you ended up creating, you know, award-winning PBS shows out of
Yes.
it. You know, and also, you know, the music that you've done that's aired in Australia, Ireland, obviously in Nashville.
Yeah.
You know, with other, I mean, it's taken on a life of its own, Todd.
It has, and it was kind of, it all started in the cave, and I would meet people in the cave that would lead to other things. So Todd and I formed a production company called Todd Squared for obvious reasons. And then we've done shows in Cuba, Ireland, Australia, Music City Roots. I co-founded with John Walker.
Right, which was so huge here. And you know, and I told you that before we came in studio. Music City Roots is another one of those things that always just wowed me.
Yeah.
Where you guys pulled this off as a radio show and as a an outlet, as a voice for musicians and artists.
A stage. And really, that's the thing that I think is my purpose in life. I'm not a musician, Eric. I feel music viscerally, you know, like in my solar plexus or wherever, but I don't. People say, Todd, you ought to pick up and learn something, at least a mandolin or something, or, you know, dulcimer. I said, no, I don't want to dispel the magic. Right. You know, I've always loved music, and musicians they're artists and they're magicians to me. They create magic, and I see magic in music, and it just makes me feel, you know, so alive, and it brings people together. So I realized, you know, the thing that it's not that I'm good at it, I'm lucky about it. It's serendipitous. I walk into these places and think, oh, this would be a really great place for music. And it happened again a year later at the Loveless Barn. They were just building, and Tom Morales owned that. And John, we created it there, and then it happened again in Cuba. It's happened in Ireland. And so I'm always on the lookout when I'm walking around. The cameraman said he's got an idea, maybe do something in a parking garage. I said, well, hey, I'll go see it. You know, I don't know. But like music, when you know, they call them in the industry black boxes. And it just means one venue is the same as another, right? And you can, you know.
But to have that kind of vision also, and I was going to bring up, Todd, to where, you know, you launched it in one cave in 2008, then moved it to another cave 2018, you know, 2 years before the pandemic. But then also now you've got an amphitheater. I mean, and it's we were talking about, you know, being a destination in Tennessee. The largest one to draw that many people from around the world. It's international.
It is international. And the Caverns, this is an interesting statistic. It blows my mind, but 73% of all of our patrons come from outside the state of Tennessee.
You know, like even models from Ibiza?
This is true. This is true. We were talking about before the thing. I didn't think I would end up, but this is a true story. We had this artist, John Summit, and he's a huge EDM artist, and we had him back last April, and people came from 38 countries, all 50 states, and I see these, like, they call it festival attire, but there's these model-looking women, very beautiful. I'm talking to them, you know, as you do. Where are you from? We're from Ibiza. And Ibiza, we come to Grundy County to see John Summit in the Magic Cave, and I'm like, I thought people from here came there to go see the EDM, but it works both ways, and it is fascinating because we do music in all genres. We do things in the amphitheater, which I'll talk about, but we do them in the cave. But people see their favorite band, and they have a pilgrimage. They say, I'm going to this Magic Cave in Tennessee to have this amazing, unique experience. And before the pandemic, it was just, I say just in quotes, 850 seated, 1,200 standing room capacity, amazing music venue inside a cave.
With great sound quality, because I know like Brandy Carlisle even brought up that it reminded her of the sound of Sun Studios.
Yes, the reverb.
Natural
reverb.
Back to your Memphis.
Back to my Memphis roots.
Full circle.
Full circle there, Eric. I'm from Memphis, and I went to school at UT in Knoxville. I tell people I was born in the West, schooled in the East, I live in the middle, and that's all true. That's not California, New York, and Kansas there. That's, you know, Memphis, Knoxville, and Nashville. But Nashville, I'll tell you something about Nashville. As a city, the creative community in Nashville, I couldn't have ever done a show like this in another city, I don't believe. And I'll say this as a born and raised Memphian. In Memphis, if I would have said, oh, dude, I got this idea. I'm going to do a show in a cave. They'd have said, shut the blank up, Mayo. You know, there's this, but in Nashville, people say, oh, that's a great idea. How can I help?
Well, and also, you know, and I was telling you, you know, following this whole story over the years, Todd, to where the level of artist, I mean, from Billy Strings, the Mavericks, I mean, the list goes, I mean, A-list artists across all different styles of music performing there.
Yes.
And are telling, and they're selling out.
Oh, it sells out, and you know, the word's gotten around with the artists and with the fans, and you know, artists do. They used to go in and playing in these little black boxes. Nothing wrong with them, but it's like, you know, the old guitar. Hello, Cleveland. You know, where am I at tonight?
Right.
And so, from an artist standpoint, it's like, oh, I get to do something amazing and special. And from the patron standpoint, it makes it better. So it's kind of like talking about magic. Music is magic, but magic is where it's in any endeavor in life where the sum is greater than its parts. 1 and 1 + 1 = 3, right? And you see that in music, and you can see it in a venue. So you come in and you're like, okay, I'm seeing this band. We use the Mavericks because it's a wonderful example.
Totally.
Going to see the Mavericks, and yet I'm seeing the Mavericks inside of a cave. And yet there's people that have come from all over, and you look at the license plates all over the country.
And the salamanders are happy too.
And the salamanders are happy too. They're vibing on it in the other cave. Dr. Niedermeyer's happy. It's all good. The animals are good.
Because you had a lot of, you know, high-level people to make sure the cave was all set up, you know, from, you know, archaeologists to biologists to every kind of gist there was.
We had that is a true statement. People say to me often, you know, Todd, how do you turn a wild cave into a music venue? And I tell them, you know, it's about a 3-beer story. but the gist of it is, it took a lot of gist, and that's geologist, as you said, hydrologist, biologist, archaeologist, and doing our due diligence on that cave. It is interesting to look back on. We built that entire cave out in 9 months. So the gestation, you couldn't pull a permit in Nashville to build an outhouse in your backyard in 9 months, but we were in Grundy County. And Grundy County, Tennessee, they told us, they said, we all pull in the same direction here. And they have recognized, and this is one of the things that just really does my heart so proud, is Grundy County was one of the few distressed counties in Tennessee economically, and they just came off the distressed county list last year. And people are coming from all over the country, and they're spending their money, and they do economic impact studies, but just in the 5-6 years we've been there, it's been like over $80 million into the local
and bringing
economy.
in sewer and water, you're going to have more upgrades coming.
The state of Tennessee stepped up in a big way. I want to shout out to them. We don't have water and sewage. We're in the middle of not nowhere, it's somewhere, but essentially infrastructure-wise, it's in a very rural place, very beautiful drive. So a lot of the plans we're working on the future are we have campgrounds, we have a yurt village, but we'd love to have a Caverns lodge and people to come and stay and have this sort of, you know, almost like a musical resort. You've got a lodge there, you've got hiking trails, you've got an amphitheater, you've got campgrounds.
So essentially the Caverns is like the Taylor Swift of Tennessee.
You know what? You said it. You said it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I mean, well, what a great thing to help an area that can use that, and you're bringing in all these, you know, people to see the music shows. You know, the artists love it. You know, the only sad thing is the book ends at 2020. I was thinking, you know, you're going to have to do an addendum. You know, I don't know what point in your spare time. Because you and I both have a lot of that.
Hopefully not another global pandemic. I'm knocking on wood here.
But you're going to have to add to this as the story goes on, because it's such a bigger than life story, Todd.
It is, and it's interesting because I think, you know, in that classic mythological way, we're all sort of the heroes of our own journey. And one of the things when people take a tour of a cave, there's a whole nother cave we have that we opened up during the pandemic called Big Room Cave. And Big Room Cave has one cave that's 3 football fields long. And so we do daily tours and take people down there. And when you go through there at the back of the cave, we turn out all the lights and you experience total darkness. And we take a little journey through the history of caves and mythology of caves. But at the end it says a line that Joseph Campbell said, that the cave you fear often holds the treasure you seek. And I'd say that's applicable for my life. I've lived that literally. But I think for anybody that reads this book in their own life, overcoming doubt, overcoming fear, finding your purpose in life. You know, there's a chapter in this book called Riding Shotgun in the F-it-mobile. And that's talking about a lot of my teenage years, and I'm not proud of a lot of things
But you were so honest in all this.
Well, I think I was, and I told some tales on myself, and it is funny, I talked to a friend of mine that read that book. He said, Todd, you told me you had a happy childhood, or a great childhood. I said, I did. He goes, well, your best friend was run over by a school bus in front of you when you were 5. Your dad went to jail when you were 10. Your parents got divorced when you were 11. You got kicked out of your mom's house, evicted from your dad's. Then there's the FBI, a couple stints in jail. I said, yeah, it was great.
And
what are you talking about?
Magic happened.
Exactly. Well, it's just like, you know, and my life did, and there were times that doubt was, and shadow or darkness was more there than at other times. And sort of there is kind of a journey of perseverance through that and finding your purpose. So I think it is applicable in that way. And that's why I kind of just wrote it for myself during the pandemic. And then I decided to put it out there because you know what? It's my story. And I think that I definitely have had a lot of feedback from people that have enjoyed the tale and the ride. And, you know, so yeah.
Well, I want to make sure also for all of our viewers, Todd, you know, for, you know, to come see a show at the Caverns, to come, you know, take a tour, to come to the amphitheater, everything. What are the websites and everything for the Caverns?
So people can go to thecaverns.com and find us on social media everywhere. And just want to invite everybody out. And one of the things, if you want to, some people like to do research and look at the TripAdvisor, the Google reviews, please do that. I encourage it. The thing you'll see, it's not just that it's a magic cave and a magic amphitheater and the visuals are so special. You'll see review after review talking about an experience they had with a parking person, a security person, a house staff person. We have a family. It's Grundy County, Tennessee. We're not corporate. We're the opposite of a corporate. It's a privately owned business. We promote our own shows. We do everything ourselves. Our security people are local. Our concessions people are local. And it's a great big family. And people love it. And I think that when you come, you'll feel that sense of joy. You'll not only see one of your favorite bands in a magic cave, but you will experience just sort of that Grundy County spirit, that Tennessee spirit of hospitality and joy that really, you know, music provides more than anything else.
It's amazing. Well, I said also be sure and get your own copy of the Caveman Chronicles by Todd Mayo. It's also available on audiobook, Amazon, all the bookstores, or if you go to the Cave, I understand you might be able to get a signed copy there as well.
You can get one.
I think there should be a documentary on the book also in your spare time.
That's what I'm going to start doing next.
Between PBS specials and, you know, and sewage and water and, you know.
Well, that's what happens, Eric, when you get two busy guys. So if you want something done, ask a busy guy, and you're one that's doing the same thing. So maybe you can help me with that. Who knows, man?
I think we can work together. And I definitely want to come down and do the tour, and I'm going to come down and see bands and be able to bring a crew down. But I'll tell you what, a great book, a positive book showing how you can take, you know, what's happened in your life, turn things around, and still make magic, just as Todd has with the Caverns. Todd, thanks so much for coming on the show.
All right, and if you do read this book, I apologize for any of those youthful discretions. But anyway, have mercy on me. Thank you so much, Eric.
Check it out, the Caveman Chronicles.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.